Okay, so this is a quick tutorial on how to look up comps on the MLS and also how to get background information about a particular property. This is very, very important data because we want to make sure that we have a clear indication of what the value is of a property, what its potential future value might be, and also what situation a seller might be in given the amount that they spent on a property, how much they might owe, and things of that nature. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to run comps on a property, and here's the way that we would do that. Again, when you log into the MLS, this is going to be your home page, and I will be giving you a username and password to log into the MLS. Once you do that, you will be able to do a comparable search by determining, you can either do it cross property, which I generally don't like to do. I generally like to stay within the same type of property, so it could be a single family, condo, or co-op, income property, or leased property. We're going to look in single family property specifically here. So we click on single family. One of the easiest ways I like to do comp searches is to do a radius search. So let's first hit this search right here, this button here that says radius search. So this little dialog box will open and we'll put in an address. Now we'll use the address of one of the properties that we've recently worked on. So we'll do 275 Art. And that's going to be, this is one of our investment properties, Rialto. And if you don't know the zip, that's okay. Usually it'll populate it for you. Then what you will do is you will select a radius. I generally like to go about a half a mile out. That's typically a representative number of or distance between where that property is and comparable sales. Sometimes if there are a lot of sales within there, you can go a quarter of a mile. If they're not enough, you can go out further and go half a mile. Then you hit enter and then it populates. So now that is the radius in which we're looking for. So what I like to do is, again, be very, very simplistic in this, as I will go at listings that are active, that are in backup status, that are pending, and that have actually been sold. Now we have a default sold parameter that goes back 6 months. So as you can see, 7/31/2015. If we wanted to, though, we could come down here to sold date and we could input the sold date and it would go until present. If we wanted to cap the date on the back end, we could do that here. It could be a date range, but we just want to go from everything from July 31st, 2015 until now. Okay, so once we've done that, we can then try to drill down on the parameters of our particular house. Our house is about 1,700 square feet. So what I like to do generally is have a range of anywhere between 200 to 300 square feet above and below the square footage of our property. So if we did 200 square feet, for example, we would go 1,500 up to 1,900. And with that, we also want to make sure that it's in the city of Rialto, because sometimes your property might be next to another city and it'll pull comps from the other city, which isn't necessarily representative. So at that point, we hit the count button and it shows 6 listings found. Now typically I like to see at least 10 to give us a representative sample, so I might want to adjust some of the parameters. We were at 200, but maybe we go up to 300, so we'll go 1,400 to 2,000 square feet. Now we go count, and that's giving us 9 comps. So 9 comps I feel like is almost where we want to be. So what we'll do is we'll go to go, and it'll give us a comp list. And what's nice about this is the first report that shows up is what's called a column report. The column report basically says the active listings, the pending listings, and then the sold listings. Now, if we just look at this really quickly, one of the things that we could do is we could sort it by, this is obviously sorted by status, as meaning status, but sometimes we could sort by list price. But if we look at actives, there's a 275, a 294, then there's a 225, which is our pending listing. There's a 280, a 295, a 315, 345, 349, 350. When you've got the 349 and 350, that's obviously a good sign. Now, I stand corrected because when I look at our square footage, I thought it was 17. It's 1,900 square feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the MLS here, and I am going to adjust. And I'm going to go from, since it was 1,900, I'm going to go from 1,600 to 2,200. And now let's see what that gives us. That's 11 listings. We're going to go. That's perfect. So now we've got slightly different data here. Slightly different data. As a matter of fact, the 349 and the 350 went away. We might want that, depending on what our purpose is, we might want to include that in our listing or in our list. So what I'll do, just for the sake of this example, we'll go back and we'll adjust back down to 1,400 again. Certainly if a 1,400 square foot property could sell for 349, a almost 2,000 square foot property could as well. I'm going to go. And there we got them back. So there was one that was 1,500, one that was 1,800 there. But this is a nice comp list. So now what we would do is, this gives us a decent representation. But what we could do is come up here to reports, and we could determine what kind of report we'd like to see. And one of the things that I like to do sometimes is to have a map representation. So one of the things that I like to do is try to see if we could get a map representation of where these properties are, because that helps us get a sense of where our property is located, and if there's any maybe defining factors, perhaps on the other side of a freeway, on a different side of train tracks, if it's closer to, are they clustered in any given area. So I like to look at the map. So what we'll do is we want to select all the listings, or all the listings we're interested in. Here you can select them individually, or you can select all of them if you click this box here. So all of them are selected. And then we would come over here to the map icon. We click map. And then it would give us a nice visual representation of the properties on the map. So for example, and then you can even click on them. This is our listing that we had listed at 225. You can see. Here's another listing right down the street. This sold for 315, similar square footage. And then if you can see, this is the freeway. This is a 210 freeway, and some of them are clustered here. Here's one that sold for 359. So some of them are clustered. And here's another interesting thing. This is a major street, Riverside Avenue. Now, we have to do a little bit more research, but it'd be curious to know if properties on Riverside, on this side of Riverside, are selling for more than properties on this side of Riverside. And those are things that we obviously want to look at. But it gives you a sense of what we're dealing with in any of these respective areas. So we can click on it and kind of get a better sense of that. Now once we've done the map report, we can, if we wanted to, email this format or print it to ourselves. So if we emailed it, we simply hit email, put who we wanted to email it to, and then it would come to us in an email format, just like this. Or if we wanted to print it, it would format itself in a printable fashion, and we could print it as well. We could also save it as a PDF if we wanted to. And once we're done with the map function, we can simply click the close button here. And we can also, again, I also like to look at this column report as well, because what it does is that we could kind of look at it by different components. So if we wanted to look at list price, for example, here it's going from highest to lowest. So there's one in backup right now for $369. There's also another one in backup for $359. That's encouraging if, for example, we want to do a flip. Ours is listed at $225. And if we could actually get it sold at the $360 mark, we'd be doing really, really well. So these are things that are good for us to have a sense of. But you know, you could sort by a number of different things. You could sort by that. You could sort by square footage. So we can look at the smallest to the largest. Again, this is very helpful as just kind of a quick look at what properties have sold. At that point, we can get a more detailed version of this as well. So we can simply go, for example, to agent detail short. It's kind of the one I generally like to go to. And what that'll do is that'll give us an opportunity to read the description. So this has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, ceramic tile. This looks like it has a pool or something there. But it gives us a chance to also look at the photos. So we come in, we can look at photos and see what we're actually dealing with. That is a very strange looking pool cover. But that house actually looks quite similar to our house. We've got a nice sized backyard. And it's offered at $280 right now. And it's pending. But again, this gives us an opportunity. Turnkey, pool home. Right? This was the one that sold for $350. So now we know when we were looking at the comps, we can make an assessment that our house didn't have a pool. This one does. Similar type of house, but because we are able to look at the pictures, we can see that it was reasonably remodeled. It's got newer tile. It's not remodeled to the fullest extent, but it's a clean house, ready to go. And it had the pool, which I'm sure they'll show here in just a minute. There we go. So that makes a difference. And we need to be able to adjust for that. So those are the types of things that we'd want to look at. Now, once we look at all of these things, we can look at it in this format, or we can choose to email, PDF it to ourselves as well so that we could have it as reference. And at that point, so for example, we went PDF without photo gallery. That's what I'd like to do. And then your PDF is actually created. And you can then use that PDF as your comps for that particular property. And this is what it looks like. You simply print that off. Now you've got comps for that property in that neighborhood. You'll also have the printed map page that shows where all of these respective properties are relative to the other properties, relative to your subject property. And finally, you would have the column report, which is the initial report that comes out as well. So hopefully that helps. You can do that with any property. You can again select, the factors that you'd want to select. You can determine you can sort it by age, by size, and a bunch of other factors. But this is how you use the MLS to run comps. Hopefully that helps. Thanks.